parent in clearing the exam? One,
You have to be, on the day, you have to be fully focused, because I knew quite a lot of material, but I lost it in that first half an hour. So that could have cost me the exam. So whatever you need to do before, you must stay calm, because you can fail just because of that reason. I'd done all the exams, but do the mocks, because when I did the mocks, that's when I discovered my incompetencies. And that's when, Emoji, I was messaging you and saying on YouTube, what does this mean? What does that mean? Your deliverable videos, excellent. Change requests, brilliant. Risk journeys, all your journeys. I would suggest to everyone to watch your journey videos. I watched them when I was cooking, when I was in any 5 minutes I had, I would watch one of your videos, any video. But I watched your videos.
thank you, Seema. Thank you very much. And finally, you did it. You have been going back and forth. I wish you best of luck for the reason you did. And now it's the time to celebrate, to be happy. Yeah, you did it. And well, congratulations once again from the entire
Thank you very much.
community. Bye, Seema.
Thank you.
Anand just cleared PMP like 10 minutes ago. Ali have cleared PMP with above target. Congratulations, Raheel, on clearing your PMP in first attempt. You cleared PMP exam with 5 above target. The best thing that anyone can do. 5 above target. Ladies and gentlemen, second student in 3 days, 5 above target.
I didn't expect it that I will get this result. I thought that I will be like target or like above target.
Thanks to you. Without your dedication and guidance, it was impossible for me.
Yeah, we can play to you. Above target, above target, above target, above target. Do I have to read film book? Do I have said no? Like whenever he heard like this guy have read 5 times film book so many times, you always get confused and come back to me. I kept on saying him, you are going to clear, just read one time. And that's what he did.
Seema cleared PMP exam with 3 above target, the maximum anyone can do in PMP exam. Seema, first of all, congratulations on becoming certified PMP. And her journey has been fascinating.
Thank you.
She has been going up and down, and like everyone, she was very skeptical. Will I be clear or will I not? So let's hear it from Seema. So, Seema, why don't you share us your journey of becoming a certified PMP?
Sure. So I started mid-January. Um, just as I started, UK went back into lockdown, and I was homeschooling again with the 2 children, as well as working full-time as an IT professional. So I started the PMP, but I had no idea of the volume and the nature of it. I started with Joseph Phillips' Udemy course, which was good. And then I was reading the Rita book, and I was going from here to there. I didn't have any proper structure because it was all new, and I just didn't know where to start. So I was going, if someone said to me, read this, I'll go and try that. And I was not settled. And then I saw some of your videos, but again, it was not clicking. Nothing was clicking because I didn't have a good foundation. So then I stopped, and I started again. And then I started using the Joseph Philip Udemy, Andrew Ramdayal for the Agile component only.
And
combination of Joseph for the predictive, Andrew Ramdayal for Agile, and then I read the Agile guide. For Agile, I was a bit more confident, but it's not as easy as you would think. You really have to think in the right way. But then there was still lots of gaps in predictive, and that's where your videos, Emoji, started coming into play. Because when I started watching your videos, things became reality. The way you would describe certain journeys, you could relate to that because you would use real life situations, like in quality, in procurement, you would talk about buying the pizza. In risk, you would talk about coronavirus. In every journey you would use real life examples. And up until the last moment yesterday, I was watching your videos of initiating, planning, monitoring, execution, everything. You were the last reference point until I sat the exam. In the exam, before the exam, sorry, I listened, you kindly recommended some mocks to me. So I did Prepcast 1 to 4. You then said to me, do Yasin Tunasi. So I did the Yasin mock. You then said to me, do 2 Trideb mocks, which I reluctantly did a few days before the exam. And I scored less than 70%. And I was very scared at that point. I scored higher in Prepcast, but I scored 60s in the Trideb mocks. But you still...
66.
66, yeah. And then I was very unsure when I sat the exam yesterday, because that was my last mock 66. When I sat the exam, for the first 5 minutes, my mind just went, I couldn't think. My advice to everyone doing the exam is you must take your breaks and do make sure you review your questions at each point before every break, because before my first break, I actually changed many answers because my first 20 minutes went very badly. So I changed a lot of answers before my first break. Then second session, it seemed a bit better, but again, I was getting tired and very drained. So have your break, have a sugar fix. And then third session, the third lot of questions, last 60 questions, as soon as I pressed end exam, the result came within a split second. I wasn't expecting it so soon. And then obviously that was the end. That was the end of my exam.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay, so that's a good way how you explained. I really like the way you explained it, all those things. Why don't you tell me this thing? What was in your exam? And most importantly, since you did TriDip, you did Prepcast, you did other mocks, which mocks were near to the real exam?
Okay, I think Prepcast was quite near.
Okay.
But I really found the exam different, maybe because I was in a different frame of mind. But Prepcast was probably the closest, because Prepcast had the agile, whereas TriDep didn't have as much agile. But the one thing you said a few weeks ago, I watched your Maya Briggs video. That actually came up in my exam, Maya Briggs assessment.
Okay.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say I knew all the 16 personalities, but I knew 2 of them, and that's the 2 that came up. So I was quite lucky. Other than that, the wording of the question makes all the difference. So in Prepcast, I think the wording was similar in terms of Prepcast would use least or most. So you really have to be careful with what you read. Going back to the exam, there was a lot on the servant leader mindset. So obviously, it's not just memorizing facts. There was nothing in the exam that I needed to memorize. It was all a common sense and relating your experience as a project manager back to what you would do in that situation. So there was very little I could have, even if I had all my notes with me, I still couldn't have performed any differently because it's all situational.
Now that is the beauty of the exam. I really love the way you said it. Even if you had all your notes, you could not perform differently. Now that's something that PMP aspirant must master it. Okay, so exam, how much exam was agile? How much predictive?
Okay, when I started in the first session, I seemed to think it was more predictive. I would say it was 50-50. So I've heard of cases when people have said there's more agile. I didn't feel there was more agile, but it's very hard to quantify. But I don't think it was more than 50%. Especially in the beginning, I just seemed to think, where's the agile? Because that's where I was strong. And then it was coming, it came in the second 60 set of questions and the last 60, but it wasn't as agile heavy as I originally. I mean, I knew that agile guide so well. I knew Andrew Ramdale's course so well, but not as much as I expected in terms of questions.
Okay. Okay. So if we think about it in this way, so what do you think was the most targeted area? Like procurement, risk, which area was the most important for your exam?
I think risk I seem to remember the drag and drops were, I think I had about 2 on risk, but it's not straightforward because the wording is so cleverly laid out that you really have to think. It's not just a straightforward thing like we saw in the exam, like Prepcast or any other situation. It was clearer in Prepcast. Here, the situation they described was quite complex, so you really had to know your terms for risk. The risk came up quite a bit. So there were no calculations. I knew all my formulas. There was nothing apart from, I had a few questions on, this is the CPI, this is the SPI, what would you suggest? What would you recommend? That type of thing. Nothing on critical path, but I had some indirect questions like, where would you look to resolve the problem if there's a, there's a issue on a project? So that was indirectly the critical path question. There was quite a bit on communication. There was lots on stakeholder, and I seem to recall there was quite a bit on scope being misinterpreted or things not being delivered according to what the customer thought scope-wise. And quality came up a few times. It was all there. It was all there in different, different respects. But one thing I noticed was it didn't ask you any straightforward question like, what is this? Or, it was very, very situational. You really had to think.
Okay, so you really have to think for all your sessions, to really have to think for all your questions. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a great thing. I really like the way how you are basically putting it. That is a real PMP in action. I really like the way you said it. Okay, so Seema, you know that I always ask, what is your one final advice in 1 minute that can help PMP aspirant in clearing the exam?
You have to be on the day. You have to be fully focused because I knew quite a lot of material, but I lost it in that first half an hour. So that could have cost me the exam. So whatever you need to do before, you must stay calm because you can fail just because of that reason. I'd done all the exams, but do the mocks, because when I did the mocks, that's when I discovered my incompetencies. And that's when, Amer Ali, I was messaging you and saying on YouTube, what does this mean? What does that mean? Your deliverable videos, excellent. Change requests, brilliant. The risk journeys, all your journeys. I would suggest to everyone to watch your journey videos. I watched them when I was cooking, when I was in any 5 minutes I had, I would watch one of your videos, any video. But I watched your videos.
Thank you, Seema. Thank you very much. And finally, you did it. You have been going back and forth. I wish you best of luck for the reason you did. And now it's the time to celebrate, to be happy. Yeah, you did it. And well, congratulations once again from the entire
Thank you very much.
community. Bye, Seema.
Thank you.